Okay, so you want to own a grocery store, find a location, fill the shelves, open the doors. Customers arrive every day because everyone needs food. They buy milk, bread, vegetables, and snacks. Cash keeps flowing. You restock the shelves, pay a few bills, and keep whatever remains. Sounds simple. It almost never is. A grocery store does not really sell groceries. It sells convenience, consistency, and trust. Customers expect fresh produce every morning, stocked shelves every evening, and prices that compete with stores only a few miles away. The products are almost secondary. What shoppers actually pay for is the confidence that whatever they need will already be waiting. That expectation creates one of the toughest business models in retail. Most grocery items carry surprisingly small profit margins, yet the store must maintain thousands of different products at all times. Every empty shelf represents a missed sale, while every unsold item slowly loses value until it becomes waste. The economics become even stranger because demand appears predictable while remaining remarkably uncertain. A heat wave changes beverage sales, a storm empties bread shelves overnight, inflation alters buying habits. One supplier delay can leave entire aisles looking abandoned. From the outside, a grocery store appears to be a simple exchange of food for money. Beneath the fluorescent lights, however, it is a massive logistical operation balancing inventory, perishability, labor, and razor-thin margins every single day. Before worrying about selling a single carton of milk, there is another reality waiting: the extraordinary cost of opening the doors. Opening a grocery store begins long before the first shopping cart rolls through the entrance. Even a modest neighborhood store requires an investment that often reaches between $500,000 and $2 million, while a larger independent supermarket can easily exceed $5 million before opening day. Leasing an existing building reduces construction costs, but renovations alone can consume hundreds of thousands of dollars. Refrigeration becomes one of the largest expenses. Walk-in coolers, freezers, refrigerated display cases, and backup cooling systems can cost well over $200,000 for a medium-sized store. Unlike ordinary shelving, these systems operate continuously because every hour without refrigeration risks destroying thousands of dollars in inventory. Technology adds another layer of expense. Point-of-sale terminals, barcode scanners, inventory management software, payment processing equipment, security cameras, electronic shelf labels, and networking infrastructure must all function together without interruption. A single system failure can stop sales across the entire store. Then come the cost few aspiring owners anticipate. Initial inventory must fill thousands of shelf spaces before customers ever arrive, tying up enormous amounts of cash in products that may sit for weeks. Commercial refrigeration also requires specialized electrical work and upgraded power capacity, expenses that frequently appear only after construction begins. Exterior signage, shopping carts, bakery equipment, produce fixtures, loading docks, employee break rooms, and waste management systems quietly expand the budget even further. Every decision increases capital requirements while producing no immediate return. By the time construction crews leave and every shelf is stocked, the business may already owe substantial loans. Yet despite spending millions of dollars, it still cannot legally serve a single customer. Having enough capital still does not guarantee the store will open. Grocery retail is one of the most regulated segments of everyday commerce because it handles food safety, public health, and consumer protection. Before opening, the owner needs a business license, sales tax registration, occupancy approval, inspections, health permits, and certifications. Stores selling alcohol, tobacco, or pharmacy products face additional licenses that can take months to secure. Depending on local regulations, insurance is unavoidable. General liability, workers' compensation, property coverage, liability, and spoilage insurance protect against risks that range from customer injuries to refrigeration failures. Lenders often require these policies before releasing financing, adding another layer of cost before revenue exists. Compliance does not end after approval. Refrigeration temperatures must be monitored, food storage standards documented, pest control maintained, and employee training kept current. Surprise inspections can occur throughout the year, and violations may result in fines, mandatory corrections, or temporary closures. Meanwhile, rent, loan interest, utilities, and payroll for staff may already be accumulating while approvals remain pending. Every week of delay extends the period in which cash leaves the business without a single completed sale. That creates one of the least appreciated realities of opening a grocery store. The calendar becomes as expensive as the construction itself. Money disappears simply because time passes. By the moment the first customer finally walks through the entrance, capital has already been committed without producing any operating income. Only then does the next challenge begin: paying the relentless cost of staying open. Opening day is often mistaken for the finish line. Economically, it is the starting point of a race that never pauses. A grocery store begins generating expenses the moment the lights turn on, whether the aisles are full of shoppers or nearly empty. Payroll is usually the largest recurring cost. Cashiers, stock clerks, department managers, bakers, butchers, produce workers, janitorial staff, and overnight shelf stockers all keep the operation running. Labor alone can consume a significant share of operating expenses, and wages continue rising, regardless of how much customers spend. Utilities follow closely behind. Refrigeration systems operate around the clock, making supermarkets among the most electricity-intensive retail businesses. Heating, air conditioning, lighting, and freezer compressors continue running every hour because food cannot simply be switched off after closing time. Creates another constant drain on cash. Fresh produce spoils, dairy products expire, meat reaches its sell-by date. Every unsold item represents money that was spent but never recovered. Unlike many retailers that can keep merchandise for months, grocery stores regularly throw inventory away simply because time has run out. The business must also cover software subscriptions, payment processing fees, equipment maintenance, pest control, insurance premiums, cleaning services, security systems, property taxes, and routine repairs. Even shopping carts disappear through theft or damage and must be replaced. Most of these costs are fixed or only partially flexible. They continue arriving regardless of whether sales exceed expectations or fall well below them. That is the uncomfortable arithmetic of grocery retail. The invoices arrive every month with remarkable consistency. Customer spending, however, rarely follows the same predictable schedule, exposing the industry's greatest structural weakness. The greatest weakness of a grocery store is not a lack of customers. It is the illusion that high sales automatically produce high profits. A supermarket can generate millions of dollars in annual revenue while keeping only a tiny fraction after expenses. Industry net profit margins often range between 1% and 3%. That means a store selling $10 million worth of groceries in a year might ultimately retain only $100,000 to $300,000 in actual profit before reinvestment. One unexpected disruption can erase an entire year's earnings. Competition makes those margins even thinner. National chains negotiate lower wholesale prices because they purchase enormous volumes from suppliers. Independent grocery stores rarely possess that bargaining power, forcing them to either accept lower margins or charge higher prices that may drive customers elsewhere. Inflation creates another structural problem. When suppliers raise prices, customers often reduce purchases, switch to cheaper brands, or visit discount retailers. The store pays more to stock its shelves while finding it increasingly difficult to pass every increase on to shoppers. Shrink quietly compounds the problem. Theft, damaged goods, cashier errors, spoiled inventory collectively cost retailers billions of dollars each year. These losses rarely appear on shopping receipts, yet they steadily erode profitability behind the scenes. This explains why struggling grocery stores often appear surprisingly affordable when listed for sale. The building may look busy, the parking lot may stay full, and the registers may never stop ringing, yet the underlying economics can already be deteriorating. The discounted price was rarely a bargain. More often, it represented a business whose financial pressures had simply become someone else's responsibility. The real question, then, is how any grocery store manages to earn money at all. The surprising truth is that grocery stores do not make most of their money by earning large profits on every product. They make money by carefully managing thousands of tiny financial decisions happening simultaneously. Some products are intentionally priced with little or no profit. Milk, eggs, bananas, and fresh bread are classic loss leaders or near loss leaders because customers compare their prices frequently. Competitive pricing on these essentials builds the perception that the entire store offers good value, even if higher margin items tell a different story. The real profits often come from prepared foods, bakery items, deli counters, floral departments, private label brands, beverages, health and beauty products, and certain household goods. A store's own branded products can generate significantly higher margins than national brands because they eliminate part of the supplier's markup while strengthening customer loyalty. Cash flow also matters as much as margin. Many suppliers allow payment weeks after delivery, while customers pay immediately at checkout. That timing creates working capital, giving successful grocery stores access to cash before many inventory invoices become due. Used wisely, This improves liquidity even when profit margins remain modest, yet the largest revenue variable remains completely outside the owner's control. Customer behavior, weather, inflation, changing diets, economic uncertainty, nearby competitors, and shifting consumer preferences all influence how much people buy and what they choose to purchase. A full parking lot does not guarantee profitable baskets. That is the delicate balance behind every supermarket. The operating costs remain stubbornly predictable. The revenue rarely does. Few businesses illustrate that reality more clearly than one of America's fastest growing supermarket chains, whose success eventually revealed the limits of grocery economics itself. For decades, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, better known as A&P, appeared almost unstoppable. By the middle of the 20th century, it had become one of the largest grocery retailers in the United States, operating thousands of stores and generating billions of dollars in annual sales. At its peak, many believed its scale alone guaranteed permanent success. The strategy seemed brilliant. Massive purchasing power allowed A&P to negotiate favorable prices from suppliers, while its extensive network of stores made the brand familiar to millions of shoppers. High sales volumes compensated for the industry's thin margins, creating an impression that grocery retail was simply a game of becoming bigger than everyone else. But the economics quietly shifted. Consumer preferences changed as competitors introduced larger supermarkets, broader product selections, and more modern shopping experiences. Chains such as Walmart, Kroger, and later Costco reshaped customer expectations by combining aggressive pricing with greater convenience and operational efficiency. Maintaining thousands of aging stores became increasingly expensive, while renovating them required enormous capital. The company's already thin margins left little room for error. Rising labor costs, growing competition, changing real estate economics, and mounting debt steadily reduced financial flexibility. High revenue could no longer compensate for declining profitability. Every percentage point lost in margin translated into hundreds of millions of dollars under such a massive operation. A&P filed for bankruptcy protection in 2010, emerged after restructuring but continued struggling against the same structural pressures. In 2015, it entered bankruptcy again, and its remaining stores were sold or closed, bringing an end to a business that had operated for more than 150 years. Its downfall was never simply about poor management or one bad decision. It demonstrated a deeper economic truth. When an industry survives on extremely thin margins, even enormous scale cannot permanently protect a company from changing consumer behavior, rising costs, and relentless competition. That same lesson applies whether a grocery store has 5,000 locations or just one. If you owned a grocery store and everything went right, you would build a loyal customer base, manage inventory with remarkable precision, minimize waste, negotiate favorable supplier terms, and generate steady cash flow year after year. The business would probably never produce spectacular profit margins, but disciplined execution could create a stable and valuable operation over time. The more typical outcome is less comfortable. Sales fluctuate, operating costs gradually rise, suppliers increase prices, and competition constantly pressures margins. Success depends less on attracting customers than on controlling hundreds of small financial variables that quietly determine whether revenue becomes profit. The worst-case scenario arrives when those variables move in the wrong direction at once. Food spoilage increases, labor costs climb, inflation changes shopping habits, competitors cut prices, and debt payments remain fixed. The store may still appear busy, yet cash slowly disappears until the operation becomes unsustainable. That is the paradox of grocery retail. A full parking lot does not necessarily mean a healthy business, just as empty shelves do not always signal strong sales. The numbers hidden behind the checkout counters matter far more than the activity visible from the street. A grocery store is not really a food business. It is an inventory, logistics, and cash flow business that happens to sell food.